All right, so today in our class we begin with identifying note names and pitches where they exist in two clefs that we worked on, which was primarily treble clef, but also how that works in bass clef as well. So first thing we did was identify what treble clef is and what it's showing. Here we go, so let me get this. So treble clef looks like this, and what treble clef is specifically showing us is where the note G is. This is also called a G clef. In theory, you could put this clef anywhere, right, and put it up here, and that would mean this line is G, right, and so forth. So that's why it's called that. That clef shape is just specifically showing us that. But treble clef is always showing us where G is on this specific line. Good, so G is there, and so first thing we looked at was just how the cycle of notes work. So we started with A. There's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we get so high here that we need to add an extra line. So these are notes again, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we get back to A again. And this is how we identify note names using our alphabet, which happens in a lot of places in the world, but other places of the world use something called solfege. So you can imagine places in the world that have a slightly different alphabet than we do. They use different words and terms to identify note names. So you might have heard this wonderful stuff from The Sound of Music, but what she is singing about, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, is how what note names are called in a lot of other places in the world, because it's a bit more universal, where our Arabic alphabet is pretty limited to certain languages. Solfege is actually a universal way to identify pitches. So solfege works like this. We could still start an A here. But do okay, so we have those. So do, this is our most important note here, which is C. So do is C, re, re is D, E is mi, right? F is fa, G is sol, right? And then we will jump back down here just to see an A, which is la, and then we get T, which is B. Right? So this is just a different way to identify pitches, identify note names, not using our alphabet, but that's what that song is doing. And so all the time, C is do, D is re, E is mi, F is fa. And it's pretty cool because this is universal. So if you went anywhere in the world, you could kind of talk and identify pitches this way with people, and they would probably know what you mean, which is very cool. But yeah, so that's just a little introduction to solfege. We'll go over this more and why it's useful later, but that's how that works at the beginning. And then the next thing we did was see why different clefs are actually useful. So down here, gonna actually start on first the note that exists right here. Okay, so you can climb all the way up this clef and see how high we get before we need to add extra lines such as this. Yeah, so this is D, then E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, maybe back to A, right? So if we need to add extra notes, we will use these lines, which are called ledger lines. And that just means it goes off the range of where the staff lines are, right? Now, this is important because when we are reading notes that have ledger lines, this is what's happening. And I want to just point out the most important note that we have, okay? So Now we're gonna see bass clef here for a second. And bass clef is a clef shape that's different because it's showing us where the note F is instead of where the note G is, right? And also this is where this note exists. Using an example as a piano, the bass note is the low notes that are off to the left, treble clef are the higher notes that are off to the right. So we'll start down here. This is G. We have A, whoa, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Okay, so this is sorry, wow. Handwriting looks like a little crazy there. All right, so these are the notes in the bass clef without needing any ledger lines. Now something happens here. If we add a line, we get this note. And it just so happens that this special note is called middle C. And if you have played piano at any point in your life, you will know why or where that note is. But this note is kind of shared. This is the linking note between bass and treble clef, right? So this is C here. This is also C in the treble clef, right? And then if you can switch up to treble clef here and know that next is D, E, F, G, A, and so forth, right? But middle C is the note that links these two. Middle C is always the note, this specific note, and it looks like that on either the bass clef or the treble clef, right? So if we had a middle C written in treble clef, it would look like this, right? If we had a middle C written in bass clef, it could look like this, but in reality, right, these are the same. They're the same exact note, which is very cool. So the same exact note, there's only one of those keys that exists on the piano, that is middle C. So this is a little introduction to identifying note names and pitches as they exist, first off on the piano, but exist anywhere. And just for, the generally speaking, right, male voices, say if you're singing and you have a lower male voice, this is generally kind of the range you live in. And then if you have a female voice or a kind of higher voice, generally this is where you live in, right? Which is pretty cool. So you can see why it's useful to have different clefs that just show different sets of notes than the others, either high or low. But our favorite note of the day is middle C, which exists right there and links both of these worlds. So we'll come back to solfege in the future. It's one of my favorite things, and especially if you want to get better at singing, it's a very useful tool to do that.